Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's June 22nd. This will be our chart listed for the day. And you can see we've had a little bounce here. We bounced off this yellowish uh, band on the envelope. And so I would think we would probably move all the way at least to the midline. So we may get a little correction and another leg down. We could just turn on down and keep going. We may just get a little momentarily correction. I mean, we've moved a good bit there. Um, so a little correction, even if we're still going lower, would not be out of the question. But we might push higher and test this upper side another time. And I mean, I kind of guesstimated this upper line based on this midline how it fits. So we could have further to go higher. I don't know. We'll just have to see. Um, I really haven't tried to draw a trend line here. I mean, you only have one touch, so you can't confirm it, but that looks accurate. We did bounce right at the midline there. So let's give this a shot. We'll see what this looks like longer term. Very possible that that is a trend line there. It hadn't been confirmed really. I mean, we really have two measured legs up. We'll see what happens. Um, there it is. That's what we're looking at. We did get a looks like a kind of a reversal type day, but we'll see if we get any follow through or not. But let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart and take a look at it and go through the trend. And here it is. You can see we started off relatively flat and then we bounced out of there, moved higher. Looked like we were going to sell off and get back in the range or maybe go lower. And we found some support off this trend line and continued to work higher until we got a break, moved to a new high. And then we bounced off that trend line once again and we're still moving higher. So a lot of sideways stuff here. This is not a hugely or extremely strong trend at this point. There's a pretty good move here, so let's just see what we get if we measured the two legs. So you can see we did go a little higher than two measured legs up. So maybe we got two measured legs up there, and it just took a little while to push up. This market's been bearish for the last few days, but we could be turning the corner here, so we could start rallying again. Anyway, let's zoom in. We'll go through the trades and we'll wrap this day up and we'll wrap this week up. You can see we traded down and we traded into this range. So a lot of times whichever way you trade into a range, generally that's the direction you're going to trade out of there when you succeed. Didn't happen today. We reversed, as you can see. And that could be just because we're bottoming out. So, but we traded down into this and 7 o'clock, I really marked out 7 o'clock through 7:30, 7:15. There just wasn't anything in here to trade because of this unemployment claims. You want to be kind of flat. You might have taken this trade. It's right at, I think it's right at 7:30. Well, it's 7:40 by the time this bar closed. Let's see what this one. 7:35. So yeah, you might have taken this trade. I'll mark it green because you could see by that time by the first 10 minutes, there's not much happening there. So maybe you take that trade. Lower high here, but you move too far to make that a tradable lower high. And then we just start kind of bouncing along a little bit higher than where we were previously. And quickly you get a triple test. I like that. It actually broke lower and failed and turned up. I like trading that as a engulfing bar. If you wait till after the bar closes, there's a little bit of stem, but maybe you still take that. I'm not as crazy. There's a higher low here that maybe you even take that. But the problem with that is the last few tries we did not get even back to the midline, and so there's not a lot of room there. So that one makes me, and this did just kind of gap over and take off. So it's doubtful you probably could have got in that trade. Maybe with a limit order you get in it. And then we come back again and again. I wasn't crazy about this one because of the congestion. You can see you got 3 bars there. We closed right at the EMA, which generally you don't worry about the EMA too much. If there's enough room in there, maybe you take that trade. And you can see there is enough room there. Maybe you take that trade. You definitely don't want to take this one because you make a new low. And that was kind of the problem there with that one. You really make a new lower low, and generally you want to wait on a higher low. And so that's what kind of concerned me on that one. But that's an engulfing bar. I don't think I would trade that doji almost right there on the engulfing bar. But that closed pretty strongly, and it did bounce off the original lows. So maybe you take that trade after re-looking at it. If you took that trade, I wouldn't give you any problem with it. But then we failed lower, and this one does make a new low. Obviously, it's not a new low for the day, but it's lower than any of these previous lows. So you want to make sure prices are not going to go lower, because you would kind of be expecting prices to go lower here. And so wait on a higher low or a reversal, and you do get a reversal right here. It doesn't set up perfectly. It does, but it's still a failed second entry short. So if it breaks higher there, go with it. There's then a second entry here, but it's right into those highs, so I don't think you want to take that. Runs up here, and we actually get a breakout, but you don't really get a chance to short that one. There's a lower high here. I don't think that closes in its lower 2/3. There's probably enough room to scalp out before the EMA, but you got your first break here. There's a good chance it could tick lower and turn up and make that new high. So I'm not crazy about it. And then, of course, we only got one bounce off of this. In order to go long, you expect most breakouts to fail. So in order to go long, you need for it to test this previous resistance multiple times and then act as support first. And then you could go long, and you don't get that. You just get one test of it, and it's a very bearish bar anyway. And the bullish bar is an inside bar for the most part. This is your signal bar, so there's no long there. Even if this would have been a good bar, I don't think you want to take that trade because it's only one test of the breakout area. Runs up. It does make a new high, and then it corrects. And notice you get this trend working down. I don't see anything there you can trade on the way down. I wouldn't buy that either. But notice you get this trend up. You get a close outside new high. So you get a second entry there that makes a lower high with a very bearish bar. I like going short there. And you might get a runner there, very, very likely, depending on how you played it. And this thing takes off. So you might get a nice run there. That might be all you need. And of course, you get a bounce here. I draw your trend line just to see what happens. And of course, it does come right back and confirm it with this higher low and a very nice signal bar way away from the EMA. So I like taking that higher low. And then it comes back and tests that trend line again and gives you a second entry. It only looks like one leg down, but it's by the counts, it's a second entry. I'd take that trade. And it takes it a minute, but off it goes, and that's a fairly nice move too. Moves to a new high, comes back, and it bounces here around. Of course, that's the first break of this green channel, so you expect it to try to make a new high. It doesn't quite. Then it comes back here, and this makes a lower low, so you got to wait on a higher low, which you get right here on now you've got a triple test, a higher low, and a nice signal bar. I like going long there. It doesn't take off instantly, which gives you concern, but just put your stop where it goes, sit tight. And if you didn't enter here, I definitely wouldn't enter on this next one. I'd enter there. And again, it takes on off. There's another higher low here, but it's right back into all these highs and stuff, so I wouldn't enter there. Gives you a failure here, but it's way too far away from the EMA. Runs up, runs into some resistance. You get a close outside. It tries to go higher twice, gives you a triple test. Normally, I'd say this would be on a triple test with that bearish bar to go short with no questions, but there's a little support across there. Most likely, it's just still the momentum taking a few minutes to trying to go higher and then finally figuring out after triple test. So you may still take that trade. I still like it, but you can't mark it blue because it is in congestion. You get a lower high here, but not a tradable one, and then you're just stuck in another sideways channel here. This one's tempting, triple test to that bottom, but there's not room to get out, and it's almost a doji. So maybe it closes in its upper third. I think it's too questionable. I did mark the short here because it's two legs back to the EMA, and there's plenty of room to get out. So maybe you take that one. It's not a perfect signal bar again. And it does make a new high, so that lower high option comes in just like here. It makes a new high. If you'd have taken it, it works, but that's twice we've broken higher, so I'd want a lower high, and we don't get it. It just takes off. And here you get another failure. So if it breaks below there, it's a failed second entry long. I like that one. We should be trying to come back to the trend line again since we couldn't make the high, and we've turned down at the kind of at the midline there a couple of times. So most likely coming back to test this trend line again, and in the end we get a break instead of just a test. But you would also want to measure this move. And you could see that showing that maybe you get a break there, and which you do. There's a higher low here, but not one you want to trade. You're already back to the EMA. There's a failure here. Again, not one you want to trade. It's also a second entry long because it's below the EMA. It's all congested. I would wait, and it does break higher. Notice it makes another new low, and you get a first entry, second entry. So when it breaks higher right here, that's a failed second entry short. I like that on the engulfing bar. You could still go long there because it's probably going to go higher from there. You do get a little break of the trend line, which looks correct there. Maybe the trend line was going to start here. There is another shorter term trend line here. It's like a little spike in channel. I didn't draw it on there. You don't really need it. But I like going long there. Comes back to the trend line again here on the second entry. The only problem is you got a lot. You've got a lot of resistance here, and you don't have enough room to scalp out. Maybe you still take that, but after turning down all those times and the last couple turning down there, I'm very wary of that entering on that. So it's a questionable trade. Maybe you let it break higher and drop a limit order and see if you can get filled, which you probably could a couple of ticks back and then have room to get out. That would be the ideal way to try to enter that. And then, of course, you come back again. Signal bar is not good enough. And then but notice you get you got a little two matching low, so that really makes that a new low. And so you get a first entry, second entry that fails. That's a little, the second failures are already a little, are already not a little bit, but very advanced. So most of you shouldn't even be looking at these because they're just going to confuse you. But it makes it even more advanced when you talk about counting this as a new low because of the two bar matching low there. But if it breaks above there, you're probably going to run to a new high. It's the first close outside. So I like that setup. There's a higher low here, but I wouldn't take that because it doesn't give you a whole lot of room back to the highs here. And then it does, you get your break, a new high, and then you're working lower. And again, you get a first entry, second entry. So if it breaks below there, there's another failure. And it's right at the midline. So I like going short there. And that takes you into 230 and nothing really else there. There's a little hidden second entry here, right at the key entry point. And if you went to a slightly smaller chart, you'd also see a failed second entry long there. So, I mean, it's a possibility. You know, it's really pushing it to be that late in the day. So I don't think I would take that trade. But there it is. That's how I see it. And yeah, this trade, this kind of trading gets hard in here. You got to be able to see the big picture. And if you don't, you know, if this just looks like swings up and down, you got to be super careful. If you can't find these trends yet, you're not that good at it, then you probably don't want to take any trades in there. The key to all of this is being able to find these short-term trends and the sideways stuff and recognizing where prices are going and what they're trying to do. So anyway, there's several trades here today, and I mean it was obvious after here, right in here, that we're kind of working up. But you already get the break here, but then we start up again, and there's only a couple trades after that. So learn to find these trends, these trend channels, short-term ranges, and so forth, because it really helps you to be able to visualize what prices are doing, where they're trying to go, and you just want to try to go with them. So people get confused. They think we're pattern trade. We're not pattern traders. You can see the same pattern all over the chart, but depending on the context of the chart and what prices, what the chart's telling you what prices are trying to do, you may or may not want to take that trade. So people will send me their chart and say, "What's the these two patterns look exactly alike? What's the difference?" Well, the difference is the chart context, what prices are doing, and what's going on the chart. So even though they look exactly the same to somebody that can't read the chart, they're very, I mean, usually they're, to anybody, any chart reader, it's super obvious, but to somebody that hasn't trained their eye to see the chart, it's going to be difficult to see. So you got to learn to read this chart. You got to learn to understand what prices are doing and where they're heading. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Again, that's going to wrap up our week. Another short week due to the holiday. I didn't get a chance to do one Friday, and I'm not going to get a chance to do one tomorrow because I'm going to be leaving out of here at lunch. So no chart lessons. Our next one will be on Monday. So I'm done for today. I'm done for this week. I'll see you on Monday. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.